Patriots 22, Giants 20. Welcome to Talking Giants, presented by DraftKings. I'm your host, Bobby Skinner, here with my co-host, Justin Pennick. And the starters played, and we've got a lot to talk about. Some really good stuff on the defense, which means we'll probably spend like 2 minutes talking about it. But we have a lot to break down with the offense. Justin, you were there. We got 2 weeks until this stuff starts counting. How are you? How are you feeling?
Hey, Bobby Skinner. Kind of great to talk to you. Sunday night.
It feels good.
A late night episode, yeah.
There's a comforting feeling about after a loss talking to you and like having the Patreon chat there with me. It's like my support group after a loss.
Yeah, I'd certainly agree. And we let some hours go by before we hopped onto the microphone too, even though I relatively did just get home from the game. Excited to go back in 2 weeks. So I'm just going to get down to it kind of right away. Heading into this game, I wanted to be just as confident, if not more confident, about week one after seeing the starters go out there for a dress rehearsal. And if you are a New York Football Giants fan, Bobby Skinner, watching this game, seeing the total product of this summer, seeing the total product of the preseason games, if you are a Giants fan, I do not blame you if you are less confident. I'm not talking about doom and gloom. I'm not talking about this being a 5-win, 4-win team. But if you are less confident after watching this team through the preseason and then hearing the reports and seeing the reports throughout the summer, if you are less confident, I do not blame you. And I think that is kind of the take after this game. Like I said, I'm not talking about this team being doom and gloom, not saying the Giants are going to suck. If you are less confident in week one, I do not blame you stemming from this game. And that's what I have to start.
Yeah, and I think the biggest worry is the offensive line. You know, and again, we're not going to like take too much out of play calling from a preseason game. Daniel Jones, which is what we're going to start this podcast talking out about, is, we're going to talk about him. That interception is definitely disheartening, but the reality is like that's one play. The offensive line was just bad. It was bad, and we're going to go individually through, their bad plays, especially in the first half. But Justin, I mentioned the support group. Who is the support group, and how are they part of the support group?
So the support group, you can be part of our support group, especially after losses. If you go to patreon.com/Talking Giants, and after the games, you get to hang out with us while we stream right after game day. So it's 11 to 15 p.m. on a Sunday night, and we got a lot of our Patreon crew who wakes up early in the morning, but they're still hanging out with us, and we're having our therapy session. And hopefully we won't have to have many therapy sessions throughout the whole regular season. So as part of a Patreon, you can hang out with us while we record the episodes live. Plus, Bobby Skinner will send you a free magnet, and you're eligible for some shirt raffles twice a month as part of the Patreon. So patreon.com/Talking Giants. Thank you to those patrons.
Okay, let's talk about Daniel Jones. His stat line, 17 of 22, 135 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Completed 77% of his passes, 6.1 yards per attempt, which I don't like the way those two numbers mix. Like 77% of your passes, you should have a higher yards per attempt than 6.1. But Justin, let's start off with the negative, the interception. You get down there, you get down to the goal line, looking to punch it in. They're not able to punch it in. They have the play action pass to Evan Ingram. Like, you see some good stuff throughout the passing game. And that interception is just so killer because the type of interception it is. Like, me and you are big believers of like, hey, like, don't make the goal of your offense to not turn the ball over, which Jason Garrett admitted. That they did the start last season or for last season, and it's like, this is not something we want. Granted, yes, do you want the cut down on interceptions? Obviously, but we didn't want to sacrifice his aggressiveness for that. And he needs to pick and choose his battles. You can't just be a total, gunslinger. But that interceptions are the ones you can't have. The ones that don't make any sense. If you're trying to fit a ball in on a tight window on 3rd and 8 at your own 40-yard line. Yeah, okay, that happens. Like, there's going to be interceptions that happen. That kind, though, it just makes no sense. You're rolling out. It's 3rd and 1. I get you want to get the touchdown instead of kicking the field goal. But hell, you know what? The Giants, when they did go for it on 4th down, it was on 4th and goal at the 1-yard line. They would pound it in.
Yeah.
So it's not even like you're totally sacrificing a chance at a touchdown. Like, you could have went for it again and had a chance to make that play. And they went for it on 4th and 1 earlier in the game, too. That interception is so frustrating because it reminds you of the 2 Tampa Bay ones. Because where it's like, this makes no sense. What are you doing? There's no play there to be had. And I get there's a slight tight window for Evan Ingram, but you gotta know better than to try and do that, because it's just, that was frustrating, because like, man, if you just don't have that one play, we're singing your praises after this game. The Caden Smith touchdown is beautiful, but because of that one play, you kind of are left with a negative feeling about DJ.
Yeah, unfortunately, this is kind of how Daniel Jones' career has gone so far. More or less 2019 Daniel Jones versus 2020, where a lot of the interceptions were Evan Ingram involved, or, et cetera, et cetera. But really, it felt like that Tampa game, if we're going to relate it to 2020, where you can see him make some of the best throws you've seen a Giants quarterback make over the last couple years. And then also some of the worst mistakes that a Giants quarterback has made over the last couple years. So it really is unfortunate, because we are looking at this Giants offense, if not for that interception. If Evan Ingram gets 36 more inches on a nice play that he made to get the Giants inside the 10-yard line, or if Devontae Booker, or whoever took that carry on that 2nd and goal, gets in from the 1-yard line, then we're looking at this day and we're saying, oh, I actually am excited about this Giants offense. And then the main story is talking about the offensive line. Instead, we're starting off the show with Daniel Jones, and glad it's the preseason. Certainly glad it's the preseason, but that's the stuff that we cannot have in year 3. We cannot have those absolutely disaster throws of, what the hell are you doing, Daniel Jones? We cannot have those throws, because clearly that is the difference between the Giants having 14 points in the first half and then the Giants only having 7 points and the Patriots still kind of being in that game. Cannot have those throws in year 3.
And that's why I think it's important for him to play in the preseason. I'm glad they gave him this half. I wish they actually would have let him play a little in the third quarter.
I agree.
Ingram and Slayton got a little banged up. But so it can be that wake-up call, like, hey, these really matter, and they screw things up, like, for example, like the Tampa Bay game was truly a wake-up call for Daniel Jones. Like, there's no denying that. He had one interception after that for the second half of the season, and that was off of Evan Ingram's hands. So, he really had no interceptions in the second half of the season. But also in practice, and this is why for the QB position, more so than any other position, you need preseason reps, is because those sacks, they just, especially the Giants, and I think the Giants should change this. This is something Joe Judge should change. Cleveland doesn't do this. Supposedly New England doesn't do this. The Giants let every single play go. It doesn't matter if he has 3 guys that would have sacked Daniel Jones, they let the play go. Like that viral clip from FanFest. That's what that was, where Daniel Jones is like, screw it. I got to throw it. Throws it, and it ends up being a dropped interception by O'Shane Ximines. And it's like, what? What is that? Like, that is kind of ridiculous. Kind of just like, okay, these sacks matter. These interceptions matter. You can't just toss a play and cut it, and chalk it up to, well, I just had to throw it because, we had to throw it eventually. Yeah,
and so for those fans who wanted Daniel Jones to get out there and get hit, he got hit. He certainly got hit. And Bobby, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't want to jump to the O-line right away. But just talking about Jones, I really thought it was apparent from sitting in section 315. You get the old 22 view. It's why I love it so much. I honestly feel like I can get more from watching the game up there versus even just watching it on TV. I get a little frustrated seeing how athletic Daniel Jones is outside the pocket, and then his lack of pocket mobility and pocket awareness inside the pocket, where, we had tackles that were getting beat off the edge left and right tonight, but I actually thought that there were some lanes where he can take lanes to step up in the pocket and extend a play inside the pocket, and I thought he wasn't taking it. And on a day where tackles were getting beat off the edge left and right, both tackle spots, not seeing him extend plays that way by stepping up in the pocket, when I think there was actually an opportunity for him to do that, that was also kind of frustrating too. Did you sense that at all today, or not really?
On a couple plays, we'll talk about the Nate Solder sack where he should have just thrown the ball to Devontae Booker. Could have stepped up a little too, but there was pressure coming up the middle, like the Andrew Thomas sack. Like there was, Larson was in his lap.
Yeah.
But it's just that interception puts a damper on what would have been a really good performance. I mean, if he doesn't throw that stupid ass pass, or they run the ball in on 2nd and goal, we're talking about him completing 70 or almost 80% of his passes. That Caden Smith touchdown was beautiful. That's why he has the nickname Danny Dimes, is because of those throws. Look, those throws are beautiful. And we're like, you know what? Like, he would have completed 82% of his passes if Darius Slayton doesn't drop the ball. Like if that play doesn't happen, he is 17 to 21 with a drop. And we're talking like, oh my gosh, this guy didn't miss. The sacks, you could work but we're talking about that. And because of that bad play, and that's what you'll get defined by. Like, it's not saying, throw that away and look at the other stuff. So the regular season, don't let that stuff define you, because it's defined him so far in his career. He had a good second half of the year with the turnovers, but don't let those plays define you in the regular season, man, because that's going to be the difference between winning and losing. And, year 3, the patience starts running out with, the fan base it's always run out, but coaches and GMs, or future GMs.
And here's the bottom line too. This Giants offense doesn't produce enough explosive plays for Daniel Jones to make mistakes like that. If Daniel Jones was tossing those touchdown passes to Caden Smith vertically down the field and making plays like that, and if we were getting those Sterling Shepard plays where he broke a tackle, ran an incredible route right away, like he willed separation on that comeback route on the sideline, and then he broke a tackle, turned into a 22-yard gain. He willed wide receiver separation on that play. He's the best route runner on the team, even with Kenny Golladay here, and that's not a knock on Kenny Golladay. I think Sterling Shepard is just that good of a route runner. So he was also lining up at the slot, by the way. We were wondering, where's Sterling Shepard going to line up? The first time we saw him this preseason, he was lining up mainly in the slot, which is, good to see. That's what a lot of people kind of thought. So if the Giants produce more of those 20-plus yard plays, more of those chunk plays more often, then maybe we can look at an interception and a bad Daniel Jones decision and say, you know what? I feel confident that the Giants can get right back into the red zone right away. But it's the fact that this offense, getting into the red zone and putting 7 points on the board, at least as of last year, it is so rare. It is so rare that they get into the red zone in the first place that you just cannot afford those mistakes versus, an average offense where if you do produce explosive plays at an above average rate, you're confident you can kind of get back there. But the Giants cannot waste those opportunities, and that's why that turnover really hurt even more.
You know what hurts even more? Not being on DraftKings. The NFL is back, and the DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL, is giving all new players a can't-miss offer for Week 1. Bet just $1 in any NFL game during the first week of the season. Receive $200 in free bets instantly, no matter what. Take advantage of this limited time offer now. You heard right. DraftKings is giving all new players $200 in free bets instantly when you place a bet of $1 or more in any Week 1 game. Head to the DraftKings Sportsbook app now to check out all the great promotions and daily odds boosts. Plus, you can make every game a big game with same-game parlays. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use promo code JOHNBOY to receive $200 in free bets when you place a $1 bet on any Week 1 game. That's promo code JOHNBOY to get your free $200 in free bets instantly for a limited time only at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. It must be 21 or older. New Jersey, Indiana, or Pennsylvania only. New customers only. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or in Indiana, 1-800-9-WITH it. Snacks got some good reviews on his ad reading skills.
Yes, I was very impressed with Snacks. I was very impressed with Snacks all of last week. I thought he did a great job.
Very nice, very nice. All right, Justin, let's talk about the offensive line. And I want to go individually through the first team O-line's bad plays, but I'll say Andrew Thomas looked bad. Like, Andrew Thomas is the biggest loser of this game. He had a bad game, man, and it wasn't, at first I was like, well, is it these 3-step drops and they're teaching the quick set, which is part of it. But he just looked bad, man. I mean, in his kick slides, it was 1, 2, and they were very short kick steps too. And then he was opening his hips. And not only was he opening his hips, he was letting guys get into his chest. And that's the Matt Parrott issue. That's a recipe to just let guys beat you around the corner. And honestly, I think it's an overcompensation from him getting beat inside in the beginning of 2020. I really think that's part of it. And it's frustrating because this isn't how he lost last year. This is not how Andrew Thomas lost last year. So again, I'm glad that this happened in preseason. I'm almost glad this happened because you saw a little bit of hints of it versus the Jets. It's like, man, he's opened his hips a little too early. Like, he's trusting his athleticism too much. So I'm not glad this happened, but I'm glad that this bad disaster kind of happened in this game because he looked bad. I mean, he was missing his punches, had bad hand placement, was opening his hips. It was just a bad game for Andrew Thomas overall. Like, it was bad and it looked bad too. I mean, it was really disappointing to see him play like that. I had a lot of confidence in coming into this game.
Yeah, I mean, he's looked pretty good during the individual stuff, during the Pats joint practices. But partially what was happening during those joint practices is a lot of the reps that Andrew Thomas won, it was kind of washing guys out. And during the individual drills, it's tough to see because there's no quarterback. Well, are you actually washing a guy out, or are you getting beat over the edge, et cetera, et cetera? But it was during the team drills where Thomas was getting beat over the edge, and he was getting beat towards the outside. Not really allowing that inside move, but he was getting beat over the edge with guys bending the edge. Man, and I want to say, and I want to hear what based off what I have to say, I want to hear how you respond to this. I want to say I have the confidence in Andrew Thomas that he can turn around, because he did turn around last year. Even with that ankle injury, he turned around his issues. We identified it, the coaches identified it, and they adjusted. I want to say that I'm confident in Andrew Thomas, but also I don't feel Andrew Thomas has earned the right for him to be one of those players that we can just say, oh, this guy can turn it around. Because it is crazy where even if Andrew Thomas is an above average tackle and everybody else is decent, maybe even below average, I still have very much confidence in this offensive line. But if he's not good, then I think the rest of the entire unit will falter because of it.
And Thomas needs to be really good. He can't just be good. He needs to be really good. He was picked 4th overall in a really good tackle class. And, and I'm not, and I banged on the table for the guy. But it was just, what makes me feel a little better is this isn't the way Andrew Thomas gets beat. It's just not. So I think it has been a little bit of overcoaching, and they're going to go watch this and realize, hey, this quick setting stuff, you either got to do it differently or get back to just letting him kind of be on that island, let him get verticals, because he's never had the issue of opening his hips too early. That's never been Andrew Thomas's issue. So I think he needs to, in a sense, leave the inside a little vulnerable. Trust that you can power that right foot down. Trust that you can do it. Lag it. If they give you that inside move, be quick with it. Be ready for it. Because that's what made him excited about him at the end of last season, was that type of stuff. But when they are doing the quick sets, he's not setting out. He's getting back, and I'm telling you, it's quick 1, 2, and then opening his hips. It's what are you doing, man? You didn't do this at Georgia. What's the deal? And I'll go quickly through the bad plays on the O-line. Thomas on the sack. Now part of to defend him a tiny bit on that first sack, it was a stick concept. It was a 3-step drop, 1, 2, 3. Ball needs to be out. They play man coverage. They keep the linebacker in the spy. Daniel Jones has nowhere to throw the ball. Ted Larson is in his lap. That ball should have been out. But also, it was, Thomas opened his hips too early. The next bad play was that play action play. I don't even know. It's almost like he was expecting someone to be on his side. Where they fake the run play, because he just kind of gets dumped and he's playing the wrong side of the guy's helmet. I don't know. Anyways, that one's the least of my worries. On the shoulder sack. That's the one Daniel Jones should have hit Booker. I understand that it was quick, but that was when we talk about long developing plays, and it's it leaves the check down open. That was a perfect example of that. That was a play that was meant to be attacked downfield. Booker moves in motion on the drag. He's the check down. He's wide open. He throws that ball. He has yak. That ball should have been out because that was a longer developing play. But anyways, Andrew Thomas goes for that hand dump, which Colombo had him trying to do, and it pissed me off because it didn't fit him. He needs to stop doing that. Stop doing the hand dump punch. And because he misses on that, the defensive end just gets his hands in his chest, turns him sideways open. Now, that sack wasn't Thomas's sack. On the other side, Solder and Will Hernandez, they got a stunt. Will gave up a little too much ground. Solder still should have powered down better, but Will gave up a decent amount of ground on it. But at the same time, he did push. He kind of sent that over to Solder. Solder's got to kind of diagnose it a little quicker. On the Slayton drop, Matthew Judon just killed Solder around the edge. That fade to Shepard. That one, the Matt Parrott. Did you remember that one? The Matt Parrott hit?
Yeah.
I mean, that literally was a 1-step drop. That's a snap, set up, bam, throw. And Solder or Parrott just gives the weakest punch and leans and just opens himself up, and Jones gets hit on a 1-step drop and Devontae Booker totally missed a blitz on that. So maybe we could cool our horses on how great of a blocker he is. Thomas on the holding again. 1-2, opens his hips, allows hands in his chest.
I mean, he got beat on that play and he held.
Yeah. And he held obviously because he got beat. And then Kenny Wiggins and Gates had some two bad stunt pickups, not like play busting bad pickups, but like Wiggins probably should have got over.
Yeah.
But I could have been on Gates as well. So that was kind of the first half of how the O-line played. So Thomas is the main offender.
Yeah, one kind of final note on Thomas, and maybe we can move to that right tackle spot. I saw Brian Baldinger make a video on another tackle. I believe it was tackle for Tampa. And he was saying, "Hey, like he can see that this guy is working on stuff, and maybe just maybe, that this is something that the Giants are just working on Andrew Thomas. They're working with Andrew Thomas, working on something that's different technique. Because especially hearing that he's not getting the depth in his pass sets, which that is the reason why I loved him. I loved him. I love Wills because of Wills was a little bit more choppy. But I love Thomas because of the depth that he got in his pass sets, and his footwork was pretty nice and was pretty sweet. So hearing that his steps are a lot more choppy, that's kind of strange, because usually that's not something that you lose that athleticism. So maybe, hopefully, it's just something that Rob Sale, Freddie Kitchens, whoever, that they're working on something with Andrew Thomas, working on a little bit of different technique. And then once we got Von Miller, Bradley Chubb coming to town, it's like, hey, go back to what you know how to do, and rock and roll from there. So that's the hope. But again, I don't want to presume that, because we don't know that, and we have to evaluate just what we see with our eyes.
It's overcorrection, honestly. It's opening the hips too early, stopping guys from beating you inside, and instead of him lunging and punching too quickly, he's doing it too late, and guys are getting in his chest. He needs to get back comfortable. So maybe this was just a game to do it and he doesn't seem like, well, we know for a fact, he's not a guy where it's like, oh, he had one bad game and it spirals. He had his worst game of the year, and then they fixed him, and with 11 days rest between Thursday Night Football and Monday Night Football. So, other O-line takes. I think we're both in the Ted Larson is better than Kenny Wiggins boat, but also Ted Larson left the game at the end.
Yes, which here we'll do a quick little injury report here. Ted Larson, knee injury, you want to say? Darius Slayton, foot, ankle. Evan Ingram, calf. CJ Board, elbow, but I think he returned.
I didn't know Board had an injury.
Yeah, he might have returned. I don't know, but those are some big significant names. It's not like we're talking about, Madre Harper or, Devontae Downs or anybody insignificant, or, Chad Slade, let's say. I mean, those names that went down: Ted Larson, Darius Slayton, Evan Ingram, CJ Board. Slayton did return to the game, so that's good. Evan Ingram did not even return to the sideline with that calf injury. They did say that he was in good spirits. Ted Larson did not return to the sideline, and I think CJ Board was on the sideline. So those are some pretty big injuries, especially as we get down to 53-man cuts. If Evan Ingram's going to miss some time, what does that mean for, obviously, Caden Smith is making the team, but does that mean that we go out and we have to get somebody off of the free agent wire? If Darius Slayton's hurt, what does that mean for a guy like, David Sills? And especially if CJ Board's hurt, then, hey, David Sills, you're kind of on this team. So injuries are some key concerns there, but Ted Larson did get hurt, and keep with the O-line. I think Ted Larson fully cemented himself, and this is going to be a real damn shame if he's hurt for an extended period of time.
Yeah, he didn't look horrible.
I think Ted Larson really cemented himself better than Kenny Wiggins today.
Absolutely. Like, he looked much better. Now, he didn't look like anything special. He's still unathletic, but he looked much better than Kenny Wiggins.
Taking snaps at center?
Yeah. And so that brings up a good point, is Jonathan Harrison. I mean, he looked so good in the run game, working those combos. Like, it was beautiful. It's like, man, I get that you're going up against backups, but it looks beautiful. So I literally tweeted out, I was like, if Shannon Muir doesn't play games, Jonathan Harrison needs to work at guard. They put him at guard, and he gets beat really bad on one of the pass plays. And I don't think he had a few reps at guard. He got beat really bad, so maybe I can pump the brakes a little bit on that. But Harrison looks good. Like, if If he was out there doing that stuff for his starters, you'd be like, he'd be the star of the O-line reports. I mean, he was working combos, and he was the main point of it, like pushing guys nose tackles 5 yards into the backfield, perfectly moving to linebackers. I mean, it was like when you literally have X's and O's on a whiteboard and you move them the way they're supposed to go. That's how he was working this combo. It was beautiful in the run game, but in the pass game, he got schooled pretty bad. Just wasn't moving his feet. On one play, someone else gave up the sack on that play, but that was bad. But still, overall, Jonathan Harrison, we've seen him twice. I've left impressed both times.
There you go. Feel good. And interior offensive line depth was a worry throughout the entire summer. It still is a worry.
Still is a worry.
Still is a worry. But you got to feel good about Jonathan Harrison. So there you go.
Do you want to talk much about Brightwell versus Clement? Because Brightwell
I want to talk right tackle. I want to give one final note on. I know you went through the bad plays, but so I was going to have some sort of take on right tackle battle if any of them looked good tonight. But the fact that Solder starts the game at right tackle, and the fact that Matt Parrott comes in, and Matt Parrott was in to start the third quarter, he got a series in the third quarter right tackle. I have no different take on the right tackle spot compared to when we started the game because both of them I think look equally bad.
Parrott looked better than Solder, but Parrott had the worst rep, which on that one-step drop fade to Shepard.
Yeah.
But Parrott actually, besides that, kind of like didn't have some of his same issues. Like he kind of looked decent. So I am firmly in the Matt Parrott should be the starting right tackle week 1 camp.
I agree.
Where I could have been swayed after tonight.
Yeah, I agree because I was starting to get swayed after the joint practices in New England. And if Solder kind of came out and held his own, but that just it did not happen. It did not happen. And I don't know how many reps at right tackle he got. I don't think he got any during the joint practices. Every single one was at left tackle with the backups or taking Andrew Thomas's spot, which I don't understand why they didn't do that more. If they were going to give Nate Solder reps, why take Andrew Thomas off the field? I don't know. And then you throw him out there at right tackle for a preseason game, and he hasn't even done that since 2011 Super Bowl 46. So that was a little strange. It was a little curious. So I don't know. Can he get better? Was it just a comfort thing? I'm not banking on it. I'm not banking on.
Yeah, you'd be silly to bank on Nate Solder.
You should not be banking on Nate Solder getting better. You should not.
Yeah, no. And it wasn't like a train wreck for Solder, but it surely wasn't good.
But the plays that were bad were red flag, disaster worthy bad.
Brightwell got reps before Clement did, but I also think that might have been them just wanting to give him some reps with the top guys and see what he looks like with them, because it could look totally different with the backups. Because Brightwell had 4 carries for 10 yards, 3 catches for 20 yards. Clement had 4 carries for 20. Like, I would be, if Brightwell is over Clement on the roster, it's the only explanation would be specials. Because you can bring up Clement's fumble issue, which is a real issue, but also like Brightwell had fumble issues at Arizona.
Clement also does specials too. Like, that's his career.
Yeah.
So I don't really understand that. Maybe they play different positions in special teams. Again, I'm kind of done formulating takes on special teams. I'm kind of glad that now it's week 1, where after 53-man cutdown day, we don't really have to talk about special teams, which is kind of nice. I'm glad that time of the year is over. So I'm rooting for Corey Clement to make RB3 simply because I think if you cut Gary Brightwell, he's not going to get claimed by another team, and he's going to make it in the practice squad, and the Giants can stash him there. However, Gary Brightwell has surprised me this summer. He looked decent catching the ball out of the backfield against the Patriots during the joint practices, and he's looked decent even catching the ball out of the backfield and even running a little bit during the preseason, which I think surprised us both because you watch him in Arizona. It's nothing inspiring. I do just wish that he lowered his shoulder more. There are guys that are coming and tackling him like at his head, and he doesn't lower his shoulder and get yards after the contact and yards after being touched that way. So I wish he lowered his shoulder more. That's the only thing I wish. But
yeah, he runs skinny.
Yeah.
We can save any Shep, Caden, Ingram, Slayton takes. Caden Smith, by the way, beautiful catch on a beautiful throw by Daniel Jones.
Bobby, when's the last time you caught a ball that was more than 10 yards down the field? 2019, right?
That honestly might have been. Seriously though, like that might not be as crazy as you think. I mean, I have a clip of all his catches, so that might be it.
Yeah. Beautiful catch.
Board and Pettis were playing with the first team. David Sills not at all. But David Sills looked good when he was out there. He had that out and up that Mike Lennon missed him on. I know the catch had another play they should have called pass interference. I mean, I'm all set on waiting to see what happens to cut down day before we talk about David Sills. Let's wait.
Yep.
I gave him a nice shout out on WFAN today though.
Yeah, you had quite. I first didn't hear the line that you said, but then I think it was Research Rick put it on Twitter, and I'm like, you said that on WFAN?
We'll talk about that at the end of the episode.
Okay. You mentioned the Taliban. Spoiler alert.
All right, let's do we take a break anymore, or do you just want to read the ad?
Yeah, we'll just read the ad. The ad is the natural break, so we'll do that. All right, Bobby Skinner. So this episode is also sponsored by today's Sports Management Worldwide, SMWW. They are the global leader in online sports business education. They teach people how to work on the business side of sports. All our classes, they're taught by industry professionals, your mentors. They have been in the game you want to work in and done the jobs you want to do. I really, really want to take some classes. I think it'd actually be really good for Bobby and I as we're kind of, we're going to try to grow talking football a little bit this year. We don't want to be scouts, but I guess maybe scout-like. Is that fair? Maybe not. Maybe so. SMWW, they've had graduates who work for all 32 NFL teams, including Patrick Hanscom, who is an area scout for the Giants. If you want to be an agent, a scout, work in the front office, work in film or work with film, SMWW is the place to go. Learn the skills and knowledge you need to work in football at all levels and turn your dream into a reality. They may not be able to convert a 2-point conversion to help the Giants win their first preseason game. They may not be able to help you do that, but they can teach you how to work in football. So apply free at smww.com. Use the discount code GIANTS for $50 off the course of your choice. They offer courses in football, baseball, basketball, soccer, and more. If you have always dreamed of a job working in sports, Sports Management Worldwide can help you, from sports betting to esports, sports broadcasting. Hey, maybe I need to take a course. They have the what you know and who you know to get you into the game you love. Sports Management Worldwide, $50 off your first course when you use promo code GIANTS. Thank you to SMWW.
All right, so I hate not spending a ton of time on the defense, but they look really good. They gave only 6 points in the first half. And we'll start with the Blake Martinez interception and the things that led to that. I mean, Patrick Graham pulled a zone blitz in the preseason. So this idea that you don't do anything in the preseason is wrong. I mean, on that play, they did the whole lineup in the A-gap things that other teams did to the Giants in 2020, things that the Giants didn't do a ton of it because they just couldn't blitz a ton. They were blitzing on third down with man coverage and doing well in that, and that led to, they had Blake Martinez and Jabril Peppers in the A-gaps. They popped them out. Blake Martinez turns into a Tampa 2 roll. O'Shane Zimenez pops out. James Bradbury blitzes, and they're just it was a wild look. And Blake Martinez, my man, it wasn't just Patrick Graham scheming it up. Blake Martinez was step for step with Jacoby Myers and pulled off a beautiful interception, ripping that ball out. Even if Jacoby Myers pulls off that catch, it's that's still great coverage by Blake Martinez. But Blake Martinez to pull it out, Mr. Ball skills. This guy he said he's going to be working with the DB group. We might need to put his ass at tight end if Evan Ingles. That was a beautiful play, Blake Martinez. I hate that was a preseason play, because if that's in a regular season game, that's the play of his career. That was an insane play. And he had a nice pressure on a blitz too.
He did have nice pressure on a blitz too. That was the first stand-up worthy play that I've had since 2019 at MetLife, which was really, really cool. So Blake Martinez even talked after the game about how he's been looking to make his weaknesses a strength, and coverage is one of them from this offseason. So to have that be a goal of his from this offseason, and to kind of see it play off against a wide receiver too, that's probably the most crazy thing. He didn't just do this against a running back. He didn't do this against a tight end who's running vertically. He did this against a wide receiver who Jacoby Myers has been the guy for the Patriots this summer, and he's been the guy throughout the joint practices who both Jones and Newton have targeted the most. So the fact that he made that play over Jacoby Myers is really, really cool. And it is a shame that was like just a preseason play, because that would be like the best play of his whole career.
Yeah, I might have to do it. If I can get good angles on it, I'm going to do a breakdown of that play. I'll put that out at like 10 o'clock in the morning. So you'll probably have seen it by the time you're listening to this. But I mean, that was just beautiful. Like, this Giants defense is worth exciting for. Like, you know what? Who cares? Maybe we'll just have the 31st ranked offense. This defense is going to carry us to the playoffs either way. This defense is really good. And now that they can play man cover, I mean, they didn't even have Adoree Jackson out there. They had Rodarius Williams. Well, Rodarius looked good.
He
like,
did.
He is what's it called? Freaking a face guarder. You know, like, technically illegal, but like, he knows, like, and that's something we noticed with our pre-draft stuff. And I remember talking about it with Grump, you know, and he's like, oh, he doesn't, he's like, yeah, it's nothing to the run defense. It's like, yeah, because that man is like staring dead into the eyes of receivers. Like, he is constantly like looking at them and reacting to him, playing through the ball. So there was some reps where he got like beat off the line, but he plays through the ball. Like, he looks solid out there, you know. Now, I don't want to overreact to it. You know, it's we haven't seen enough. And also, you know, a regular season game, they might game plan more. Like, okay, let's attack this guy and figure out what his weakness is. But, man, for the only guy really playing from this draft class, Azeez played a little bit, but he didn't really make an impact. Like, he looked really good. You know, Bradbury, you know, had a nice jump on a curl route. Like, this defense, man, is going to be fun to watch. And this is all without Adoree Jackson out there and without Patrick Graham throwing the whole playbook at the offense.
Yeah, Rodarius Williams, I like the whole face guard comparison, because Rodarius Williams, on that pass deflection that he had in the end zone going towards the left corner of the end zone, that wasn't necessarily him making a play on the football, but it was him making a play on the football once the ball arrived, and then, you know, knocking down the football so it wasn't pass interference. He's got to be careful if he's going to do that face guard stuff, and if he's not going to turn his head to make a play on the football, you got to be careful so you don't get called for pass interference there. But there was it was a bad Cam Newton throw, but I thought it was better coverage, and I believe that was on a third down, and that forced the Patriots to kick their first field goal of the game. So Rodarius Williams looked good, and, you know, again, it matches what we saw in the Patriots joint practices. There is no surprise cornerback that I think is going to come up and, you know, be that cornerback 3, that outside cornerback 3. Not talking about cornerback 3 because Darnay Holmes is the slot corner and he's cornerback 3, I guess, listed on the depth chart. But in terms of the first guy that's coming off the bench on the boundary, it is Rodarius. And it's kind of whether we like it or not with this whole Josh Jackson situation, that's what it's going to be.
Rodarius makes me feel a lot better, where I may not even rant. And, you know, obviously Josh Jackson hasn't practiced for the Giants, so maybe that will soften my stance a little bit about the trade. But anyways, they really are going to be a team that blitzes on third down, and that's something we identified with Patrick Graham out of Miami. It's like, hey, he's not Todd Bowles the way he blitzes, but it's like on third down, my man's going to blitz. He's going to play man coverage, and he's going to blitz. And that's what this team is going to do. And what does that do? Well, it makes quarterbacks make quicker decisions. Bam. Well, it makes receivers have to get better separation, you know, be better at separating and not just finding holes in the zone. And which, bam, on top of that, when you have a little bit of tighter coverage, you need better throws from the QB while he's being hurried. And it leads to third down stops. And it gets this defense that was very good, but was also had a ton of time of possession. It makes them, makes them where they don't have to be a bend, don't break defense. Yeah. Now, sometimes they will bend and they won't break. But this takes it where you go to the next level. And then that's leading to more turnovers, which exactly, like, they were ready for the blitz up the middle on that third down. And because they were ready, and then they pop them out, and oh crap, it's not what that original look was. Get to go with Jacoby Myers, who was double covered. I mean, it was a beautiful throw by Cam Newton too, so I don't want to take away from him.
But I mean, it was a catch at first.
Yeah, but it's like he was sandwiched between two players. And so it takes perfect throws to win on third down sometime. But even then, with a perfect throw, Blake Martinez was able to strip the ball away from the receiver. So, like, you should be very excited about this defense. Yep. I think O'Shane Zimenez, I need to go back and watch it.
He had a good game.
Yeah, I can't. I need to go rewatch O'Shane to say. But if you're saying so, then I'm going to go with you.
Pass rushing plays. I wasn't really paying attention to. I mean, the Giants run defense was pretty darn good throughout the whole game. Even Aziz, maybe this is worth clipping. There was a second down pitch play where Carter Coughlin and Aziz Ojulari, and it was fun to see. They made a really nice play, and sometimes, running the ball outside the tackles, it can go for some big plays, and you need to have the discipline and guys that could set the edge. And Carter Coughlin and Aziz Ojulari made some nice plays out there. I think O'Shane had some pressures. Did he have no, Lorenzo Carter had a nice sack. My only worry is, Bobby, with playing more man coverage, even if you're blitzing, you got to get home. You got to get home. Where last year the Giants, they were blitzing at, I think, at an average rate, maybe even a slightly above average. I don't have that stat necessarily memorized on top of my head, but I don't really think they were doing anything crazy like Patrick Graham was in 2019. And the thing is, Patrick Graham's 2019 Miami defense, he blitzed a ton. He played a lot of man coverage. They also allowed a lot of big plays. The Achilles heel for that Miami team in 2019, granted they had like CFL players out there, but they allowed a lot of explosive plays. And that is my worry, where if you're going to be running crossing routes over the middle of the field and Blake Martinez and Carter Coughlin are going to be coming in on these third down blitzes, you got to get home. We got to have these guys get home. Leonard, you got to get home. Lorenzo, Aziz, you got to get home. Somebody's got to get home. You can't have this. If you're going to blitz, you can't have these quarterbacks standing back there for more than 3.5 seconds, because when you're playing man, somebody is going to get open eventually. So that is my worry, but it's not a huge worry.
No, I mean, I feel, obviously, though, if they do it a ton, obviously there'll be some big plays given up. But yeah, I mean, also, you mentioned Coughlin. All three of the inside linebackers next to Blake are getting reps next to him. And honestly, I kind of love that.
Yep.
Because all three have different skill sets. And again, keeping offenses guessing, being versatile. Like Ragland is kind of like that stout, run stuffer who can play up in the line of scrimmage and better at deconstructing blocks. Tay Crowder had a beautiful tackle for loss.
That was awesome to see.
And then you see that Tay Crowder athleticism burst. I mean, a 5-yard loss on a run play. That's hard to come by, but he plays that. He, saw the pulling guards and bam. Carter Coughlin. Now, when he was out there with Devontae Downs, it seems like he might mess up some run fits, but it's so hard to tell, especially when they bring a fullback in. Fullbacks really do change the run game. But again, he adds that, even if he struggles with that, he adds that third down pass rush ability from the inside where you can embarrass guys.
Yep.
And then having the athleticism to drop back if you need him to. So, I kind of like the way they're going to – I think all three of those guys are going to play. I don't think it's, maybe it's one game someone takes the large majority. But I don't really – if we do our camp position battles episode, but I think now it's just play all of them. Have there not be a said, this is inside linebacker too. Have all of them and cut Devontae Downs.
That would be lovely.
He's so bad, dude. It's like he never does anything good. It's always just bad. I almost feel bad for him. It's to just be at that level. I'm a pro athlete and I never do anything good.
I feel like the defense has been biting on some play actions. I saw that in the joint practice, and I kind of saw that again today. Again, I think I'm just nitpicking at this point. So excited for this defense for week one. I really, what makes me most confident about week one, maybe kind of going to that. What makes me most confident about week one is the fact that this defense is going to anchor down, and they're going to anchor down against an average to below average offense against the Denver Broncos. So, and then you're talking about which average to below average offense can score more points week one, the Daniel Jones led Giants or the Teddy Bridgewater led Broncos. So, I'm excited for it.
Please turn this offense on. This offense has to be better. It just has to be. And it seems like it's going to be, there'll be some differences, but
there is
Saquon.
Going to be differences. Saquon, Kenny Galladay, Kadarius Toney. Now they have 2 weeks. They have 2 weeks to come together. I don't know the timetable on Toney. I mean, there was the report from Newsday or
Tom Rock.
Tom Rock, thank you. So it is Newsday. Newsday, Tom Rock saying that Kadarius Toney is going to play week one. Saquon now has limited opportunities. If he is going to play, he does need to suit up for a padded practice. I think the Giants have, 3 or 4 padded practices in the next 2 weeks? I think that's the number.
Probably.
So he needs to suit up for at least, you would think, 1 or 2 of them, right?
Saquon's going to save us. I believe it. He's going to be a huge difference maker. He takes plays out of nothing and turns them into huge gains. So I am, you know what, I am a little more optimistic. It's like, even if this offense isn't perfect, Kenny Gall, like, think about that throw to Caden Smith. Like, imagine if I'm Daniel Jones, I'm going to Kenny Galladay, and like, you see that shit? Like, yeah, Jason, you see that? That was Caden Smith. That was our third string tight end. Okay, so Kenny, we're gonna do that. Like, if you don't got a safety over the top, I'm throwing the ball to you, and even if you do, I might throw it to your ass. Yeah. And Darius Slayton, catch the damn ball.
We got to hope these guys can turn it on. I mean, and that's the unfortunate part. Where
I'm excited for the offense at the end of this episode. How about that?
We're hoping that things can go right, and a lot of things can go right. So yes, like, for those fans who are optimistic, like, yeah, I'm with you, and I'm also right there. But the fans that may be a little pessimistic, I'm also there, because it's like the same thing that the Giants have been doing since like 2016, 2017, where we're just hoping for all of these little things to go right, and that's not usually a winning formula. Like, the good teams know that they have good things, and they're not hoping for just things to go right. Like, they know what they have, and they know what they have are good things. So, we have 2 more weeks to get excited.
Let's finish off the defense with a little roster talk. Trent Harris, 4 tackles, 1 sack, 1 tackle for a loss. Efedi Odenigbo had 0 stats tonight. 0 tackles, 0 sacks, 0 tackles for a loss. I think Efedi's gone, man.
Yeah, I agree.
And then, honestly, I'm not too hung up about it.
Nope, me neither. Sorry, but
maybe they move him back to D-line. Is it too late to move him back to D-line?
Yes, it is. It is too late.
He's not big enough. He's not a good enough run defender to play D-line for this Giants team.
He's Marcus Golden size.
Yeah, unless you're solely playing him on third downs, it's just not going to work. And you have a guy like BJ Hill who you like in that role. So, all right, anything else you want to touch on before we close this episode out?
Well, by closing this episode out, we can talk about our appearance on WFAN.
Yeah, like I said, any other football stuff you want to talk about before that?
No. I hope you don't listen to this thinking that Justin's just poo-pooing and not excited for the season. I'm trying to play both cards here, because while a lot of people are worried about the O-line, I'm certainly worried about the O-line. I'm certainly worried about Daniel Jones.
The O-line's the biggest worry.
Making some boneheaded mistakes here or there. Here's a note. In terms of concepts, play concepts, route concepts, I told you last week, I'm not going to take big picture, like Jason Garrett sucks takes based off of preseason games, because I know they're not game planning. I took it more out of practice. But I will say, a play that they ran multiple times, that worked multiple times, particularly on first down, and I love passing plays that work as an extension of the run game. So when Daniel Jones did that play action fake to whatever running back is in the backfield, and Devontae Booker is going out in the flat, he's running a little route, and then Evan Ingram is like sitting in a zone, so Daniel Jones has an option. You either check it down to Evan Ingram or a tight end, and then they can get some yards after the catch, or he's kind of rushing, running outside the pocket with the ball in his hands, and then you dump it down to Devontae Booker, or you can run the ball, which Daniel Jones is a pretty good runner outside the pocket too. On a third down, he looked pretty fast, and he had 1 attempt for 7 yards today, 4 yards, and it got a first down. So that play that they ran, that play action fake where you have the tight end in the flat and the running back in the flat, I cannot tell you how many years Tony Romo and Jason Witten ran that against us, and it worked every single freaking time. And I was very happy to see that the Giants ran it, and I hope that they continue to do it, because that is a hard play to stop, but you can't rely on it.
Word. Yeah, it was cool. I mean, that Evan Ingram, the screenplay. I hope Evan Ingram gets healthy, for as much as
kind of need him.
Like, he's a good, but maybe having Caden Smith and Kyle Rudolph out there will show them something. I don't know. But you know what? Caden Smith, every time he gets an opportunity to make a play at Daniel Jones, he makes a play with Daniel Jones.
The thing that's going to stink if Evan Ingram's not here is that we probably are going to have to pick up somebody off of the waiver wire, and then that will
Griffin Stewart will do.
Yeah, we sure. I mean, at least in practice he looks good, but I don't know if the Giants feel that way, and then unfortunately that's going to cost somebody else their roster spot. That's the only thing that sucks about that. All right, so that's it. That's my football. takes.
All right, so we went on Fan, and let me say this.
We went on the Fan.
The Fan. We went on the Fan. So, yes, was it a weekend? Yeah. Was it a radio? Like, do people do radio spots all the time? Yeah. But I'm not going to play too cool for school in this. This was a cool moment for us, going on basically the biggest sports radio station in the country, which is WFAN. Obviously, radio is not as big as it once was, but it's still huge. Like, if you look at how many people are listening to radio compared to podcasts, it's like, oh yeah, like radio still is, like, it's still huge. Now, do they have like the diehards, like they used to? No, diehards go to podcasts now. But it was cool, and we thank Sean Marash for bringing us on and giving us a chance. We're gonna do some like YouTube stuff with him too this year, like on our live streams. Because you guys won't get in it. Well, we have opponent interviews for those games, but like no regular Giants interviews until the season's over. So it was cool.
Yeah. Again, thank you to Sean for having us on. The segment's on YouTube, by the way. Like the 17-minute segment is on YouTube that we were on. If you want to go check it out, I was live from the parking lot. Bobby was in Florida.
Do you like how I pandered to New York?
Yes, you said that New York and New Jersey are the two best states, and I know you said that sarcastically, but not everybody picked up on that.
I wasn't saying it sarcastically. I was pandering.
Oh, you were pandering. Yes. It was very cool. So yeah, growing up, I always alternate, driving to high school, and when I was in college, alternating between WFAN and ESPN Radio 98.7, and especially WFAN being home of the New York Football Giants, right? These are the home of the New York Football Giants. And Sean at one point said that they were playing us. Were they playing us inside the stadium?
Yeah, I think they play WFAN in the stadium.
We gotta see if a beat reporter can verify that, because I don't know if they usually do that.
Well, Art was the one who said that they did that. So.
Oh, okay. It was very, very cool. I'm kind of at a loss for words right now. I still haven't even fully listened to the whole recap thing yet. I want to do better. How about that? I want to do better. It was a cool moment, but next time we get on, I want to do better and I want to be better. But I thought it was good. It was great for our first time, and I'm really honored to be on there.
Now, will we get to go on again? Or did I screw it up?
Yeah, you mentioned the Taliban, and you also mentioned the word friggin'. My father. I was on the phone with my father. My father was like, "He mentioned the word friggin'. He's got to clean that up a little bit." I'm like, "All right, Wait,
you can't say friggin' on the radio?
If you listen to WFAN, I think they literally say like dick, and they say ass. Like I think they say shit. I think WFAN, especially now that Craig's back.
Solely special teamer. Cam Brown's a solely special teamer. Then you have, like, your fullback, Elijah Penny. He's going to play special teams. Carter, like, a lot of guys who play special teams. So, yeah. And I don't want to cross the David Sills army because they're, like, stronger than the Taliban right now. So I don't want to get on their bad side.
I was nervous about dropping that line. And that wasn't, like, pre-planned either. Like, he mentioned they had a Sills army call. I was like, oh, gosh, I'm going to mention that Sills army is stronger than the Taliban.
That was not planned on your end.
No, it wasn't. The pandering to New York was planned. That wasn't planned.
In the beginning, I did plan out what I was going to say to Sean in terms of his eyebrows being unevenly shaved, because he was talking about that. Sean was getting very personal on the show. He was talking about how he was like in the shower and he has a mirror in the shower. I'm like, all right, I would hate to have a mirror in my shower. And he was like shaving his eyebrows and he shaved them wrong. And I planned out that line that I dropped to him in the beginning.
Oh, I was wondering. I was like, are you just being a bully and saying his eyebrows suck? No, that was cool. And, I had to get in the Tim from Florida, talking Giants versus the world at the end.
That was great.
You do Michael Scott headlines, which was funny. Yeah, it was a cool
I wasn't
moment.
prepared. I wasn't prepared for the headline question. What's the headline going to be after this game? I almost got the score right. I think I said 24-20. It was 22-20. Except I said the Giants would win. We haven't talked about the Mike Glennon Hail Mary throw.
Yeah, that was, oh my God, that's Mike Glennon in a nutshell right there.
It's Mike Mahomes Glennon right there.
Yeah, and Damian Willis, who just all he does is get preseason touchdowns with the Giants involved.
That was such a big push-off.
There's no such thing as push-offs on Hail Marys. I kind of hate that they can't go to overtime anymore, though.
I don't hate it. I was ready to go.
Come on, give us a winner. Like, no one wants a tie. Like Like, if they would have got the 2-point conversion and tied, I would have been pissed off. I'm actually glad they missed it. So it's like, okay, we lost this game. I would not have wanted a tie. So that's 2 games in MetLife in 3 days, and both had Hail Marys to end them.
Wow.
Because the Jets did it too.
Wow.
So,
yeah.
I can't wait to look back 5 years from now and think about when we compared David Sills fans to the talent. All right.
There you go.
That's an episode. We appreciate you guys. So we're finishing off PPPs this week. So we have Kadarius Toney on Tuesday, Saquon on Wednesday, and Daniel Jones on. Daniel Jones gets his own on, all together. I can't even remember who we have paired with Kadarius.
We got to do a Dexter Lawrence PPP. I don't know if there's any other.
Dexter Lawrence is paired with Saquon, I think. I don't know who's paired with Toney. But anyways, and then unless there is a huge trade, we're going to do our regular episode on Friday, even though there's cutdowns are on Tuesday this year instead of Saturday.
You may do a reaction video on YouTube. Is that something that you could do?
Yeah, we'll do a reaction video. But because we know they're going to work the waivers, we're going to wait to do the regular episode. We'll have that out on Friday. So we get all the news out, and then it's game week.
There's like 2 53-man rosters. There's like the first one that comes out and then the actual 53-man roster.
Yeah, so we're going to wait. And unless there is something huge that happens, we will wait and just have our regular episode out on Friday. And then it's game week, man. So we are closing in. The training camp is coming to an end. We appreciate you guys, man. This training camp has been it's been fun. You know, we had Fan Fest. You went up to New England. You know, good growth. The numbers are going through the roof. We've had more downloads this month than we had all of 2019. And I sent you some other numbers. Like we are crushing and getting bigger. And that's like not even when you consider YouTube too. Like that's just simply podcast numbers.
Yeah.
So.
Appreciate everybody.
Yeah, appreciate you guys. We will see you when we see you. Get excited for the offense. I don't care if it's illogical. Just get excited. We appreciate you guys. We'll see you next time. Until then, let's go Big Blue.